Episode 1. The Arrival of the Master. It was a cold night, and the streets were empty. A hooded figure moved quickly through a dark alley, her steps quiet but determined. She held a small black box tightly in her hands. She wasn't alone. From the shadows, 4 masked figures appeared, blocking her way. Their leader stepped forward, his voice cold. "You can't run forever." More hand over the rings. The woman, Miss Sarah, looked up, her face calm and unreadable. "You think I'm going to give up now?" In a blink, she was gone, disappearing into the night with a burst of wind. All that remained was a single black feather slowly floating to the ground. The leader of the masked figures frowned and watched the feather fall. "She's going to Value High. Morning Value High School." The halls of Value High School were full of students, chatting and laughing as they moved between classes. But there were 4 students who stood out from the crowd. Ray was in a hurry, walking fast with a frown. He always had trouble staying out of fights. Hot-headed and stubborn, Ray loved a challenge. Lena, on the other hand, sat quietly by the window in the library, reading a book. Smart and calm, she didn't waste time on things that didn't interest her. Zane stood against his locker, arms crossed. He was strong, serious, and always on his own. People respected him, but no one really knew him. MIA was a blur. You could barely catch her moving from one place to the next. Quick, witty, and always getting into trouble, she didn't care what others thought. These 4 had nothing in common. Until now. The new teacher. The door to the classroom opened and everyone turned to look. A woman stepped inside. She was dressed in black with an air of confidence that made her stand out. She wrote on the board, "What is power?" The class was quiet for a moment before Ray spoke up. "Power is about winning." Lena didn't look up from her book. "Power is knowledge," she said. Mia kicked her feet up onto her desk. "Power is freedom," she said, smirking. "You can do whatever you want with power." Miss Sarah turned to face them, a small smile on her face. "You're all wrong." The class went silent. Miss Sarah walked to the front of the room and said, "True power is responsibility. Most people who want power aren't ready for it." Her words hung in the air. Even Zane, who never reacted to much, felt something different about her. Miss Sarah smiled slightly, then turned to erase the board. Class dismissed. As the students packed up, Miss Sarah looked at the 4 of them again, her eyes focusing on Ray, Lena, Zane, and Mia. She had found what she was looking for. Rooftop, later that night. The sun had set, and Miss Sarah stood alone on the rooftop, holding the small black box in her hands. She opened it slowly, revealing 4 glowing rings inside: red, blue, green, and purple. "I need to find the others before it's too late," she whispered to herself. Unbeknownst to her, someone was watching from across the street. A shadowy figure held a small device to his mouth. "She's found her battlefield. To be continued."